Alright, man, peace. So, brothers, I did a video a while ago pertaining to Mr. Joel Embiid, the superstar center of the Philadelphia 76ers. Well, actually, I did a couple of videos on this brother. But one of the videos took place in the preseason. He sat down and he had an interview with Miss Rachel Nichols of ESPN, and he pretty much stated point blank that he planned on winning this season's MVP award. As soon as he said that, I knew that he wanted to take over that team, and that basically was his way of telling Ben Simmons, you're going to have to give me the ball. I'm the guy on this team. We're going to work together, but this is my year. That's how I knew that when the Philadelphia 76ers traded for Jimmy Butler, eventually there was going to be some contention between those two players because they both have an alpha male persona that they want to express and exert on their team. Eventually, these two players are going to clash. They might try to act like they're not clashing right now, but eventually they are going to clash. Already, Joel Embiid is on record as stating that he does not like how he's being used by the coach. Now, in this current NBA climate, the coach is a very easy target to take out all of your frustrations on. Because for all intents and purposes, the star player on a franchise has more power than the coach. So Brett Brown better watch himself. Because first, Joel Embiid is going to try to attack Brett Brown for not giving him the ball over Jimmy Butler. If they fire Brett Brown, the next thing that Joel Embiid is going to do, if things don't change, is he will turn his sights on Jimmy Butler. So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Despite going 10-3 since making the trade for Jimmy Butler, it hasn't been a smooth adjustment for Embiid. The Sixers...
Once again, this is going to test Joel Embiid and what he says as opposed to what he is. He says that he's a team guy, but what he is may be something different because, as we all know, he is a narcissist. He does love attention. Once again, as Molly Karam has stated, the team is 10-3 since acquiring Jimmy Butler. Is he willing to put the success of the team over his own personal goals?
Sixer star down across the board, including points per game and field goal percentage. Here's what Embiid told the Philly Inquirer about playing with Jimmy Buckets. I haven't been myself lately. I think it's mainly because of the way I've been used, which is I'm being used as a spacer, I guess, a stretch five. But it seems like the past couple games, like with the way I play, our setup, Philadelphia coach Brett Brown always has me starting on the perimeter, and it just really frustrates me.
In other words, Joel Embiid is putting it out there to the media. I'm assuming that he's already approached his coach with these same concerns. Things have not changed, so now he's bringing it forth to the media because they've sat Joel Embiid down as if to say the reason why he's not playing well is because of his fatigue. Now, Joel, of course, is very sensitive about that because he earned the reputation of being someone who was very fragile of body. As we all know, he missed a multitude of games his first 2 or 3 years in the NBA. He's been trying to shake that moniker. So for him to be sat down when he feels like his body still feels great, that's making him look bad, number one, because it's making him look weak physically. Number two, is making him look like somebody who has not been able to adapt to the acquisition of Jimmy Butler. Number three, is making him look like somebody who's not going to be able to come through on his promise that he's going to be competing for the MVP award. So all the way across the board, Brett Brown is pissing off Joel Embiid, and Brett Brown better watch himself because he got thoroughly outcoached in last year's playoffs against the Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens.
Butler did respond saying he understands his frustration. It's new to everybody, but he knows Joel wants to win. Stephen A., what's going on with Embiid?
This is Embiid's fault, as well as Coach Brett Brown. And I'm going to tell you why. Last year, Joel Embiid took 214 three-point shots. That was fourth on the team. 214 with Covington, with J.J. Redick and these boys. He shot 214 three-point shots. He was one of the. He led the team in turnovers. I think it was like 3.7 shots. He shoots about 44% from 10 to 15, from 10 to 16 foot range or whatever. This was last year, coming into this year. This year he's averaging 26. Got the numbers right in front of me. 26 points, 13 rebounds. We know what kind of a.
That's right along the arc that I stated he had to be on for him to compete for the MVP award. He's going to have to bring those points per game up a little bit to around 28.5, 29 points per game. But that's right around where he needs to be. That's why he's getting frustrated, because the acquisition of Jimmy Butler has knocked down his points.
A stud. He is. There is no doubt about that. But the flip side is this. When you look at the Philadelphia 76ers with the combination of a J.J. Redick, now that Markelle Fultz is not playing, with Ben Simmons being limited in his shooting ability, but the playmaking extraordinaire that he is, you have J.J. Redick and Jimmy Butler that's going to score. Now, Jimmy Butler is not a spot-up shooter. He can hit spot-up shots, but he will take the ball to the hole. He will dribble penetrate, dribble drive. He will make things happen. Brett Brown is trying to figure that out. The reason why I blame both of them is this. You are Joel Embiid. As much as you chirp, and as great as your game is, you can score from anywhere against anybody. Nobody forced you to shoot those threes. You chose to. Nobody forces you to.
Right, but Steve, come on. What he's complaining about is how the coach is using him. In other words, he's not trying to buck the system, because if he does, the coach is going to come down on him. I understand what you're trying to say. You're Joel Embiid. You pretty much can shoot from wherever you want to on the basketball floor. You don't have to take three-point shots. But what Joel Embiid is saying is that I don't like how I'm being used. For example, if you're a great wide receiver in the NFL and your coach is always putting you in the slot, and you know and he knows and the defense knows that you do your best work outside the hash marks, you're going to be upset.
You to get the ball in the post. He can get the ball in the post. He can get the ball 12 feet away from the basket. Almost religiously, he will spin and pivot facing the basket because he is not a comfortable back to the basket player.
Well, Steve, we know that portion of the NBA offensive mindset has pretty much gone by the wayside. We know that. I would love to see great post-up play return to the NBA, but as of right now, we just don't see it for the most part. If I was to ask who are the best post-up players in the NBA, it would take a while before people start to list anybody. We look at Anthony Davis, we look at Karl Anthony Towns, DeMarcus Cousins. Maybe DeMarcus Cousins is the best overall post-up player in the NBA, particularly for a big man. But most of these players just want to face up, even the big men. Even Anthony Davis and Karl Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid, they all just want to face up.
How do I know this? The Boston Celtics told me this last year when they were playing against him in the postseason. Brett Brown was calling plays, feeding into that. Brett Brown, to me, one of the impediments, and I like him as a coach, and I would...
Well, Stephen A. Smith, if you acknowledge that Brett Brown is falling into the notion that all he wants Joel Embiid to do is face up, then whose fault is it? Is it Joel Embiid's fault or is it Brett Brown's fault? Or are you accusing Joel Embiid of not saying anything to Brett Brown because that's how he likes to play?
And I was supportive of him getting his contract extension. My issue with Brett Brown, he is not forceful enough in my estimation when it comes to insisting that Joel Embiid be a man down in that paint area.
I remember when Joel Embiid played for the Kansas Jayhawks. He liked to work down in the paint back then. He did a lot of turnaround baseline jump shots while he was in college, a lot of jump hooks. So I have to think that maybe it's Brett Brown or the coaching staff of the Philadelphia 76ers who are encouraging him to play more on the perimeter. Who knows? Maybe his overall mindset has changed since he's been in the NBA. Maybe it's a mixture of both.
And dominate the way that he's capable of doing. He'll get his numbers, but how he gets his numbers are considerably softer than they should be because he should. I'm not talking about breakaway dunks, driving to the basket dunking, or shoot mid-range shots. I'm talking about playing with your back to the basket, drop step, and be a man
hold
down.
Let me ask you.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right, well, Steve, once again, it's not 1991, and Joel Embiid is not Patrick Ewing.
Ask you two questions.
Sure.
Who's the best player in the Philadelphia 76ers?
Joel Embiid.
Is he being used in the way that best maximizes his abilities right now?
No.
All right, then.
And I'm saying that's not this.
Thank you, Will Kane, for getting to the point.
That's both of them at fault. That's what I said.
That's all Joel Embiid is saying. All he's saying is the way the system is set up right now, it doesn't play to his strengths and his capabilities. Therefore, his game is not showing you its full bloom, its full blossom. We've seen it. Molly's read off the points. Totals are down. Shooting percentages down. And Joel Embiid is telling you why. I think we need to be really clear, by the way. Embiid is not blaming the trade. He's saying it's a symptom of the adjustments we've made since the trade, but he doesn't look back and go, I wish we had a trade for Butler.
Well, Will Kane, that's not what he's saying overtly, at least for now. But I agree with you, if that's where you're going, that he's indirectly blaming Brett Brown. I agree with that. It's very obvious that Joel Embiid is leaving out some breadcrumbs to lead to Brett Brown. Because the only reason why he's gone to the media to say something like this is because he's embarrassed about how Brett Brown is making him look by resting him. Joel Embiid is saying my numbers are going down not because I'm tired, but because of how I'm being coached. And I'm going to go public with this protestation right now because if this dude does not change, my next step is I'm going to go to management.
He's real clear about that. It's not Butler's fault. doesn't wish
I
you
get
joy
your
on
thoughts on
trade.
something, both of you, actually, because I was watching this game last night. They beat Detroit, right? We watched the game last night.
Yes.
And then he makes the comments on his day off after they win.
Ding! That's my point, Molly Karam. This is going to be a litmus test, a referendum on Mr. Joel Embiid. This will be a litmus test on exactly how much he wants to win, as opposed to how concerned he is about his personal stats, so that he can perpetuate his quest to be an MVP, which he's not going to win anyway. He's not going to be the MVP this season. Barring injury, is going to end up in the hands of Mr. Stephen Curry.
Okay.
Don't you think that looks a little bit selfish?
No, it
Yes.
does not, because when he made the comments, they had asked him about it, and so he was responding to them, and then they wanted to piggyback off of it again and get more into it. So he was trying to clarify his position, because obviously he had to have a conversation, because Brett Brown saw those initial comments and definitely went to him. But
Right, but if you're Joel Embiid, you have to utilize a greater deal of discernment than that, a greater deal of discretion than that when being asked a question of that type. So he let that out on purpose, and I'm sure as he sat down, he knew that he was going to be asked certain questions by reporters about why he was sitting out or why his numbers had gone down. So he had certain pre-canned answers prepared.
But to get back to your point, what I'm saying to you is this. You have Joel Embiid, yes. That very system that you're lamenting,
Yeah.
that wasn't the problem when Jimmy Butler was there last year. But Joel Embiid still kept playing
Jimmy
the way
Butler
he was.
wasn't there.
When he wasn't there, I apologize. When he wasn't there, what I'm saying to you is Joel Embiid's preference is to face the basket and shoot or go around you, as opposed.
Right, but is that exactly Joel Embiid's preference, or is that the preference of the NBA, Stephen A. Smith? How many power forwards or centers in the league right now specialize in the post-up, back-to-the-basket game? Very, very few.
To be physical and be. That's why Shaq came on my radio show last week and said,
Yeah,
I'm
but you just said the system is not maximizing Embiid's capabilities. Right.
Thank you.
It's right now. The system they're playing today.
Yeah.
Right? Not
Right.
maximizing his
Yeah,
capabilities.
but what I'm saying is Brett Brown is not forcing him to get in the post. You're the coach. Get him down there.
Well,
That's why you're the.
Well, then once again, whose fault is it, Stephen A. Smith? Who are you blaming exactly? If you know that the system predicates that Joel Embiid play on the perimeter, and Brett Brown is not forcing Joel Embiid to get down into the low post, why are you blaming Joel Embiid at all? Why are you trying to levy any blame on him? Especially if he himself is coming out and saying that he does not like how he's being used.
You're there.
Embiid is saying something essentially similar to you. He's saying
Thank you, sir.
I'm being used as a stretch five. It's not where I should be used.
But he was,
Embiid is saying
But
that.
last year, when he had the opportunity to be that guy, he preferred to do that, and somehow Brett.
That's based off of your assumption that Joel Embiid believes that he's being asked to do the same thing this year that he was asked to do last year. It's total assumption on your part. You need to speak with Joel Embiid and ask him, Joel, are you being asked to do the same things this year as you were last season? I guarantee you he's going to answer no.
Brett Brown relented, according to what my eyes saw. There were many.
According to what your eyes saw, you're a reporter. Why have you not called up the Philadelphia 76ers front office, the staff, and asked for Joel Embiid to take on things?
Many times where I saw Joel Embiid asking for the ball with his back to the basket, he'd get it and spin and face the basket and try to dribble. Well, if you're a miniature dude, if Will Kane is on the basketball court at 6 feet tall,
God help
but this 7'1", 7'2" dude is going to dribble the ball, what are you going to do? You'll try to strip him before he gets to the hole, because you know he has no business dribbling but so much.
All I was going to ask is, they're clearly better with Jimmy Butler.
Yes.
Obviously.
So what's the solution here with Embiid?
The solution is to make sure that you have at least 10 to 15 plays per game that you run for Joel to appease him. Bottom line, problem solved.
It's not just about whether or not if the discussion is about are the Sixers better, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
The reason why Joel Embiid's words matter so much is he's giving you the impression if we want to compete for a title, there are certain things that have to be done. And
Well, why would he not say that if he believes, as you guys have already attested to, that he's the best player on the team? Why would he not try to bring forth certain recommendations for how he thinks he can be used best? If for all intents and purposes, if the Philadelphia 76ers were to make it to the finals, it would most likely be on his back. It's not going to be on Jimmy Butler's back, because everybody knows that Jimmy Butler is not a good enough player to lead a team to a title run. He's just not. On a real championship team, Jimmy Butler is a third option. He's not even a second option.
And he's right.
And he's right.
And he's
right. You and I agree there. But I'm saying to you, he is choosing to play a certain style that's to his detriment, and Brett Brown is not forcing him on enough to do the right thing.
Okay, fine.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
On you. Sure. Joel Embiid agrees with you. Apparently,
thank you. And that's like the third time that you've had to say that. I think that Stephen A. Smith has an axe to grind with Joel Embiid, and he's not acknowledging certain things.
Based upon these comments, he agrees with you. Joel Embiid is the Sixers' best player. For them to go to their full potential, he's going to have to reach his full potential. The team cannot be centered around Jimmy Butler, and it can't be centered around Ben Simmons.
Agreed and agreed.
It's because Ben Simmons is going to be able to shoot enough to keep you in the games. How about this? To win the game for you when you need to win the game. But, hold on, I just want to say, Joel Embiid is going to have to figure out how to fit in a system that includes Jimmy Butler. That's on Joel Embiid as a...
No, actually, that's on the coach. It's the coach's job to appease his superstars, or his stars per se. That's why I state that what Brett Brown is going to have to do is to make sure that they run at least 10 to 15 plays per game, specifically designed for Joel Embiid to score. And how he's going to prove how great a player he is that he's not going to purposefully try to score on every play that's designed for him to score. That's how you're going to know that he's playing with the team concept in mind.
As a winner, he has to figure that out, but he's right.
There goes a post-up move right there. Back to the basket, jump hook with the left hand.
Brett Brown has to put him in a position to be the best player on the floor. Brett Brown has to create a system around Embiid that actually encourages. And maybe the answer is what you're saying. Put him down on the block. Put him in the paint. But Joel Embiid, it seems to be agreeing with you.
I agree.
Don't put me out here standing there shooting threes.
You're absolutely right, but there's no argument there. But what I'm saying to you is that even when you put him down there, he makes a choice. And I'm saying, I'm not telling him to live in the post. I'm saying show versatility in your game. There's plenty. Listen, Kobe could shoot Jays, but clearly he wanted to.
Well, he certainly could shoot them. He didn't always make them, but he did not hesitate to shoot them. That's for damn sure.
To go to the hole as well. Well, Shaq was down there clogging up the lane. You know, Shaq wasn't going to shoot any threes. MJ could do whatever he wanted to do. Scottie Pippen wasn't a jump shooter. He could hit some Jays, but he was going to go to the hole. There are ways to work around this, but Joel Embiid has to elevate his level of versatility. He's got to play with his back to the basket better. I'm not saying to limit himself to that. Keep the arsenal that you have, but you have to add back to the basket capability. It helps pace. It slows down the game when you need it to because their bench is not that deep. That's important. It gets him to the free throw line where he can hit some shots, whatever. These are the kind of things that he has to do in order for the Sixers to be better.
Well, Stephen A. Smith, everything that you're saying I agree with. We'll see how they're playing leading up to the playoffs because, as you stated very well, Joel Embiid is going to have to utilize more pace of play mindset in the playoffs. Where the game slows down, he's going to be far more of a weapon than he will be in the regular season.
Sounds like he's ready to do it.
Let's see.
Based on what he said, it sounds like he's ready.
Let's see.
All right, guys, we'll leave it here. When we come back.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll have to watch and see how this Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Philadelphia 76er, Brett Brown narrative develops. I guarantee you if things do not change, eventually Joel Embiid is going to ratchet up many of his statements about his coach. And if his coach is swapped out and things don't change after that, you are going to see a disintegration of the rapport between Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler. So peace.